Members, many of us don't debate that in most cases vaccines are a good thing, that they prevent disease, that they're helpful and they're good for our society. This bill doesn't allow for the exceptions. It removes the exceptions. We always allowed a religious or a personal exception in the past. You heard from my fellow colleague that 48 states allow for a religious exemption, and yet we in California don't allow for a religious exemption. We know that some of those vaccines violate people's faith. You heard 3 amendments earlier today that we tabled as a group that would have addressed some of those issues, and would have given a path to every member on this floor to vote for this today. Why is it a religious exemption is so scary to this Senate body? Why is it that, like 40 other states, we refuse to allow one? You know, I have some concerns with it. As you all know, I serve on public safety, and I have a great chair on public safety, and we've done a lot of work with prisons and prisoners and the rest. And as I toured some of the prisons, I took special interest in all the stories about how every felon is given a right to practice their faith. That we know that in order for a person to return to society, in most instances, that a change of heart is necessary to get there. And so we embrace these religious experiences for all these felons and criminals that are serving time in our prisons. We give them a space to practice their faith. We give them a time to practice their faith. We do a lot of things to encourage their faith. So I find it very odd that this bill treats us law-abiding citizens as lesser citizens, and that we don't have a right to practice our faith. That's disturbing to me. So now what I'm getting from this is I have to commit a felony and be sentenced to prison before I get to practice my faith. It's absolutely outrageous. We tell people that they can't attend a public school, and we say, well, you get to homeschool, but we don't provide them equal opportunity and resources that they would normally receive if they were attending schools. But if you happen to...
Excuse me, Senator. I'm hearing noise from the gallery, and we're going to ask you to leave if you keep it up. I think I've been fairly generous.
Madam Pro Tem, I couldn't hear him.
Excuse me, Senator. Excuse me. I'm speaking. I'm chairing this effort to try to keep this respectful and on point.
I think you need to be fair in your application.
Excuse me, Senator. I'd appreciate it, and I'm going to ask that there be no noise coming from the gallery. If it's disturbing me, it's disturbing others, and that's not acceptable. Senator Anderson, you may proceed.
Madam Pro Tem, or Madam President, I couldn't hear a pin drop, so I just want to reassure you that it's not bothering me in the slightest. However,
I'm glad to hear that, Senator. I'm glad to hear that. Please go on with your comments.
So, if I were to get off a plane, walk from the airport, leave a boat, or walk across our border, I'd have access to elementary and secondary education here in California, whether I had a green card or whether I was here illegally. Why are our children denied that same opportunity? We've paid our taxes, we've done everything law-abiding, we haven't violated the law in any way, shape, or form. But our children are somehow second-class citizens in our own state, in our own country. That's outrageous. We deserve better from this body. We deserve better from this bill. Getting a religious exemption is not unreasonable. Allowing a path to an equal education is not unreasonable. Don't get caught up in zeal and lose track of the bigger picture. You can gain more with honey than you can with vinegar. And telling people that they have to choose between their faith, practicing their faith, or participating in our society is wrong. The Puritans came to our country for religious freedom. Our country's based on religious freedom. 48 states recognize that. We should recognize it too. This has been a 6-year process to move us away from religious exemptions. We had religious exemption, then we had a bill that simply combined a personal exemption with a religious exemption. And now we're removing that. That's not right. That's not what people signed up for. They didn't, and then when we offered amendments to address those issues, to give people a path to a religious exemption, we tabled it. We didn't even have it and allow it to be openly debated on the Senate floor. You know, it's a privilege to serve on this red carpet. And I know that you all worked very hard to get here because you care about your communities and you care about your state. Let's not let those people down. Let's not just go with the majority view, but let's protect the minority. The minority is equally important as the majority in this state. Let's lift all the citizens. Let's give them all an opportunity. Let's not just pick winners and losers and penalize those that we may disagree with their faith. To me, not allowing a religious exemption is saying we only accept certain state-sponsored religions and not other state religions. Otherwise, you treat them all equally. So if it violated someone's faith, how difficult is that? You know, when we talk about this, we're talking about less than 1% of our population. Can't we have less than 1% charity for those who want to practice their faith? Senators, I work with all of you. I have a great respect for each and every one of you. And I know that you came here to make a positive difference for your community. We have an opportunity to bring every member of this body along as a positive vote. We just have to give a religious exemption, and we need to recognize that. And we need to give people an equal opportunity to a public education. That's all I'm asking for. If we can make those changes, I'd gladly vote to support vaccinations, because every member of our society would be protected. I urge a no vote.
Senator Mendoza.
Thank you, Madam President. Senators, exemptions hurt kids and other immunocompromised people. I haven't heard of any religion that actually says we're against vaccinations. As a public school teacher, I rise in support of SB 277 because our children and our school employees should have a safe school community. A safe school community includes maintaining a healthy school environment. As a teacher, we are tasked and in charge of our students' safety and well-being, from a clean classroom to providing snacks at time when kids go hungry. SB 277 is a bill that would ensure that the vaccination rate at schools reach the level they need to be to protect children, including those that cannot be vaccinated for health reasons, from vaccine-preventable diseases. We need to consider the greater good versus the few people who choose not to vaccinate their kids and not for medical reasons. There are impacts to the larger school community when an outbreak occurs. School resources are required to respond to it and take appropriate actions to protect other students. And as we have seen play out in the response to the Disneyland outbreak, for students who must be quarantined, they end up missing school for extended periods of time. We need increased vaccination rates. By increasing the vaccination rates, we reduce the likelihood that our schools and students have to bear this burden. The science is in, vaccinations work. Third world countries wish they had access to these type of vaccines. I urge you to join groups like the California PTA, the California School Boards Association, the California School Employees Association, and many more in support of SB 277. I ask for an aye vote. Thank you so much.
Senator Bates.
Thank you, Madam President and members. I feel it's important for those of us who are going to oppose this legislation, you understand our reasons, so I'll be quite brief. I am absolutely concerned about the equal opportunity to equal education for our children. We have 3- and 4-year-olds in our state who are anticipating that great first day in kindergarten. They will be affected if we're not guaranteeing that as they approach the doors of their first school, that they will have an opportunity for the same education that those who are going to be grandfathered in starting this year, the last year of the personal belief exemption, would have. I don't believe the bill at this point in time goes far enough to ensure that. I think there was a proposal of an amendment that might have guaranteed that, and I'm sorry that we didn't have a debate on that because I think it could have encouraged most of us to be voting for this. No one in this chamber doesn't believe that we should be vaccinated and protect our state and our nation from the diseases we eradicated many years ago. But we have to understand, and I think always support, fundamental to our democracy is an equal education. We did that in Prop 187 when the Supreme Court overruled that measure, and I think we are at that same doorway, that we are not guaranteeing in this bill to the greatest extent possible that our children will all have an equal opportunity to that education. It needs more work, and until it has that, I can't support it today.
Senator Allen.
I just wanted to rise to clarify a couple things that were raised. And first to say that I'm very happy to talk to any of my colleagues about the issues associated with this bill that they have concern about. These were amendments that only just came to us yesterday. I also would just mention that my vice chair, the senator from San Diego, served on the Judiciary Committee, heard the whole debate, did not offer any amendments as part of that conversation. And I just wanted to point out that, first of all, when he says we have to go to prison to practice our faith, I mean, I'm not sure that he knows that the prisoners are actually required to be vaccinated as a matter of public health within the prisons. So I think that's something that he needs to understand. The other thing is, I've had numerous conversations because I took the concerns that he raised seriously at the Judiciary Committee. I called people I respect, particularly Catholic priests and ministers, theologians, and had conversations with them about this issue, the theological issues that were at play. And I was consistently told that the Catholic Church does not have an opposition to vaccinations. In fact, many Catholic priests are working very hard in other parts of the world to vaccinate children and people to protect them from dangerous communicable diseases as a matter of faith for them, because they care so much about the sanctity of life and the preservation of human health. So I just wanted to point those things out, and I wanted to just respond to one concern raised by my friend from El Dorado Hills, just to make the point that that the bill, as it is written, limits the number of, so there are 10 vaccinations that are mentioned in law. And the bill does not allow for the medical board to unilaterally add new vaccinations on to that list of required vaccinations that would not be subject to a personal beliefs exemption. So that was a concern that was raised in committee. We heard that concern. We shared that concern about not wanting to kind of let this be an endless slippery slope. And so the list of 10 is protected under this bill. So I just wanted to make sure that my friend from El Dorado Hills understood that aspect of the bill is clarified.
Any further debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Senator Pan, you may close.
Thank you, Madam President, members. I want to thank everyone for the discussion that we've had on this bill. Also, the significant amount of discussion we've had on the bill. It's been through 3 policy committees. It's been reviewed by Health, Education, Judiciary to ensure that this bill protects the rights of all children so they can be safe and be sure to have an education. I'm glad to hear that everyone agrees that vaccines are one of the greatest health achievements of mankind. In fact, vaccinations have prevented more than 21 million hospitalizations and 732,000 deaths among children born in the last 20 years. Now, the efficacy of vaccines is not merely just from getting the vaccine, it's because people are vaccinated around you. And particularly, and I appreciate colleagues have said about the fact that there are people who cannot be vaccinated. People who may have a condition that allows them to get vaccinations. Actually, people who may not be, who've experienced a reaction to a vaccine and therefore may have to either delay or not get vaccination. people who may have transplants or may not get vaccinated or are more vulnerable to the diseases. And for their sake, we need to be sure that we have community immunity, that we protect everyone. Now, we've had that in our state, but as was mentioned before, the spread of misinformation about vaccinations, and I do have to correct one mistake, one statement. It was mentioned about chickenpox. First of all, measles vaccine has never shed or spread to another person. Varicella vaccine, there's been only 9 documented cases in the entire history of the vaccine, so a statement that a child who's been immunized against varicella is now going to spread the disease in their school is misinformation. Vaccines are necessary to protect us, but that protection has been eroding, and I think the outbreak that we had of pertussis in 2010, in which 9,000 people were affected, 809 were hospitalized, 10 infants died. And then our Disneyland the outbreak that began at Disneyland. And it's not the first time measles ever shown up in Disneyland. But in the past, there were enough people vaccinated so it didn't spread. But last December, 134 Californians got measles, including 15 infants who were too young to be immunized. And while, yes, some people who were vaccinated because vaccines aren't 100%, did catch the measles, a small percentage, the vast majority were unvaccinated, and that's how it spread. And in fact, it also hospitalized 20 people, so I would not dismiss this as being a benign disease. And when people have analyzed the spread, it's been linked to communities with low vaccination rates. So it's not the statewide rate that we're concerned about, it's rates in communities, and when you have pockets where have low vaccination, and we've been seeing that those are communities where there's high use of the personal belief exemption, and that's been identified by epidemiologists, that we need to do more to protect our communities. And that's what SB 277 is about. It's to restore that protection. So this is a matter of public safety. This is a matter of protecting our communities. We've addressed issues around access to education in the Education Committee. We've addressed issues related to constitutionality and also the First Amendment and so forth, and Judiciary Committee, we've addressed the health issues in Health Committee. And I think the science is clear. Vaccinations are safe and efficacious. It is now our job to vote yes on SB 277 to keep Californians safe. Thank you.
All debate having ceased, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen? Aye. Anderson? No. No. Bates? No. Bell? Aye. Berryhill? Block? Aye. Canella? Aye. De Leon? Aye. Fuller? Gaines? No. Galgioni? Aye. Hall? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Hernandez? Aye. Hertzberg? Aye. Hill? Aye. Wesso? Huff? Jackson? Aye. Lada? Aye. Leno? Aye. Leva? No. Liu? McGuire? Aye. Mendoza? Aye. Mitchell? Aye. Monning? Aye. Morlock? No. Morrell? No. Wynn? Nilsson? No. Pan? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Roth? No. Runner? No. Stone? Aye. Vidak? Aye. Wachowski? Aye. Wolk? Wolk, aye.
Please call the absent members.
Berryhill? Fuller? No. Wesso? Huff? Liu? Aye. Wynn?
Ayes 25, noes 10. That measure passes. We are going to go back to the file, to the daily file, starting at Senate third reading file item 24. Senator Monning, do you wish to take up that item? Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 475 by Senator Monning, enacting to continuing care contracts.
Senator Monning, let's wait just a moment. All right, Senator Monning, colleagues, we are on file item 24. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 475 by Senator Monning, enacting to continuing care contracts.
Senator Monning.
Thank you, Madam President and members. Senate Bill 475 would require a continuing care retirement community, a CCRC, to repay at least 20% of an entrance fee that is conditioned upon the resale within 90 days of the resident's voluntary contract termination or death. The remaining 80% would accrue interest based on the U.S. prime lending rate over 90 days. SB 475 would also prohibit a CCRC from charging monthly fees after a resident has vacated, and specifies that when the CCRC makes an effort to reoccupy or resale the vacant unit, it must do so in good faith. For some contracts, current law conditions a CCRC entrance fee repayment only after the resale of a unit, and this has resulted in some seniors or their estates experiencing significant delays. While these delays are not the norm, I've heard numerous stories from residents and their estates for which this bill is needed. While amendments taken in the Senate Human Services Committee do not remove opposition, they do try to find a balance between the timely repayment of entrance fees and the fiscal solvency of the CCRCs. As the bill moves to the Assembly, I'm committed to continue to work with the opposition to find areas of further agreement and compromise. Members, I respectfully ask for your aye vote for SB 475. Thank you.
Please, colleagues, is there any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Aye. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Block. Aye. Canella. Aye. De Leon. Fuller. Gaines. Galgiani. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Hueso. Aye. Huff. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leva. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Morrell. Wynn. Aye. Nelson. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Runner. Aye. Stone. Aye. Vidak. No. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk. Aye.
Please call the absent members.
Allen. Aye. Berryhill. De Leon. Aye. Fuller. No. Gaines. Aye. Huff. Leva. Aye. Mendoza. Morlock. Morrell. Morlock, aye. Morrell. Morrell, no. Nielsen. Roth. No.
Ayes 31, noes 4. That measure passes. File item 25. Senator Bell, do you wish to take up this matter? Pass on file. File item 26. Senator Allen, do you wish to take up this item? File item 26.